in our art form, in our music, and in our culture. In as much as you are free to reflect what is happening in the society, you also have a duty to place it in context. That to take up the AK-47 and turn it in a man's head. That is not right. And though you have the protection of the Constitution to sing about it, you also have a duty to the children who are listening to you.
Say, if cartel can make the young men want to wear clocks, how can he not make them want to fire a gun? But the research shows, in a book called Shiftman, that influence can end at a particular level. So a friend might tell me what to drink, but him can't tell me what to do, right? So including the Prime Minister. True cartel is wearing clocks, but I don't think cartel has influence has carried him to want to be a part of criminal activity. So criminal persons may gravitate to violent music, but it's because they are criminal in their intent. And so they gravitate to the content of the music.
Welcome to another episode of Bridging the Gap. This is season few. You know, JR back again with Scumbar. What do you with Scum?
I'm there looking at the better one, you know. There go and take it easy, you know. Enjoying the different weather.
Yeah, well, you know, don't forget Bridging the Gap brought to you by Bridge Studios. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Tonight we're going to talk about something that is very hot on the street, and that is in relation to something that the Prime Minister came out and talked about. The Honorable Beauregard spoke about dancehall music and its impact or influence with crime and violence in Jamaica. Yeah?
Yeah.
And I gather from that you are not too in agreement with the Honorable Beauregard.
Beauregard, just you saying Beauregard now, you know, it's so hypocritical. But anyway, here we have it.
Well, first let's define what is influence, or you know, what does influence mean, and you know, so we can get an understanding of exactly where we're going with this thing. Yeah. So what is influence? Influence is the capacity to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something, or the effect itself, yeah?
I listen.
Alright. So I'm in agreement with the Honorable Beauregard in the instance that what you listen to affects how you think, and how you think will ultimately affect how you act. Yeah?
No.
Alright.
If you're going to say all of that in one go, no. I mean, if you're going to take parts from it, but if you're asking me to respond to what you just say, no.
What do you mean? You just said no, but I need you to elaborate.
What I listen to does not necessarily affect how I think.
Well, it might not affect you in the sense where you won't pick up a gun and go and shoot somebody, but does music influence people on a whole?
Influence? No, just about anything can influence you. I mean, you can see somebody in a black shirt, or you can see somebody in a green. I mean, in what is influence? I mean, influence, based on the definition you just read, is pretty much anything that probably cause or evoke a particular feeling. But I mean, just about any and everything influence you. I think the issue why we're having this conversation is that there's actually legislation now that is seeking to pretty much take away people's constitutional right for freedom of speech. And I'm saying that if you're going to be termed as bro-god, which is a slang used in dancehall, coming from dancehall itself, and then you're going to say that you're trying to legislate or the influence that is caused. There are several other things that cause influence, such as movies, cartoons. Just about everything around you can be an influence. A car on the road can influence you. I mean, what does that
Yeah, but
do
we're
to
not,
you?
we're not playing semantics.
It's not about semantics.
Yeah,
You
but
talk
that's
about
what-
influence.
that's
So what is influence?
We're specifically talking about the music and the influence that music has on the violence. So
So
the
you're
music-
talking about
the music,
music and how it influenced the violence.
right?
And I am saying that. Does music have more influence than a movie? Does it have more influence than anything else that is out there
Well, it
that
depends.
actually
How-
depicts a particular picture?
How often are you listening to the music, and how much of it are you consuming, and how much of it are you thinking about, has to play a part. And also, let's not forget, we're talking about.
So you're going to limit how much time I can listen to a particular song?
No.
Or type of song?
We're not talking about anything to limit you doing anything. We're talking about the influence and how you say if music have more influence than movies.
That's
And
what
I'm
I'm
saying
asking,
if you're not somebody that is prone to watch violent movie, but you're listening to violent songs, of course that music and that violence coming from that music will influence you more than watching a movie.
So the person who watches a lot of action show with a lot of violence in it is just as much influence to do violence as those listening to violent songs?
That is up for discussion, but we want to focus on the music. And I want to broaden the scope a little bit. And not just the lyrics, but also the persons who are coming forth and singing these songs, the artists themselves. So not just the music, but the artists themselves have influence. How many youths in Jamaica can relate to a Vin Diesel or a Jet Li or a Clint Eastwood?
It's about any one of them that watches their movies. Because the movie, just like a music, you're listening to it. If you're talking about influence, which, as I said, just about anything can influence you. It does not make a decision for you. You have to make that decision on your own. So if you're going to say Vin Diesel or a Will Smith, the fact of the matter is it's just influence. It's what you do that actually makes an issue. So if you're just talking about influence, there's no doubt about the influence.
But
But what is it?
But that's the discussion. Is the
but
influence,
where does this discussion go?
We're not saying that music is the root cause of the violence. But does music influence you, or is playing an influential role in leading a lot of young men to commit crimes that they probably wouldn't have committed? Now, the
I'm
music,
saying that I don't accept.
I'm not saying that music is the only influence.
You're saying that it's leading persons to go and commit crime.
It is.
Based on what you just
It is
said.
a combination of things, but at the same time, the music plays an important role in influencing the youth, and not just the music, but also the artists singing these songs, because a lot of the kids can actually relate to these artists. They can see them in the street more than a lot of them will never see a Vin Diesel in their life. So yes,
It's a pandemic. They're seeing the artists them in the streets now.
of course,
You're
of
putting on
course.
these parties?
I'm
Where
not
they seeing
putting
them?
on these
So where they
parties,
seeing them
but
in the streets?
I'm saying this is if we're going to limit it to the pandemic, we can't say, well, then crime has been around long before the music.
And it is still going on during this pandemic as well.
It is, but
And I'm saying that you're talking about semantics.
Yeah.
What you're doing now in supporting what Brogard is saying is semantics as far as I'm concerned, because what you're doing is trying to find a scapegoat. Because there's no way music can be the issue as it relates to the crime and violence in Jamaica.
But sir, you keep going. We're not saying that, and I don't.
But
think,
I'm saying that if you're going to just talk about influence, just about every and anything influences you.
Yes, any and anything can influence you. We're not disputing that. That is not up for discussion. What I'm saying.
So what are we discussing then? What is the issue with music?
Is the music leading people to visualize and to want to
leading people? And I'm saying that.
But this is influence.
Remember, you said leading and to want to, and I'm saying that if you're going to.
What is the definition of influence again? Because that is important, if we are going to define what influence is and what is influencing the youth, we need to have a clear understanding what is the influence. And
read the definition again,
right,
because apparently you want to read it again.
The capacity to have an effect. And we're saying that music has the capacity to have an effect on these youths for them to be committing crime.
Well, what I'm thinking based on the definition that you read and not based on your analogy of the definition is that effect really means a particular feeling. It can evoke a particular feeling, probably a particular desire, but it cannot actually lead you to do something.
But if you have a desire,
you have to have that want, that urge.
But this is what we're talking about, you know. We're not saying that music is the root cause of the violence.
But you're saying that it leads people to
go into
them.
Violence. Yes.
No,
it is
an influence. You say it's leading them, and that to me is more than influence. You're saying that the music lead you to go and pick up the gun. It leads you to go and rob somebody.
It might give them
leads you to go and kill somebody.
It might give them that belief that, hey, I can do this.
To give you a belief that you can do this,
yeah,
and to actually play a part or a role that actually tells you to go and take up that gun, give you that opportunity, is a total different thing. Now, as far as I'm concerned, and yeah, we're not preaching on this, but the love of money is biblical. The love of money, for the love of money is the root of all evil.
Right.
Now, the main thing that should be discussing now, the main issue that should be discussing as it relates to what is happening with the crime and violence is what is happening to actually attract all these youths, and not only youths but adults as well, and even educated adults to get involved in violence. We have seen too much murders, too much killing, especially by the gun. However, I don't think that we're having a positive or a constructive discussion if it's surrounded by the music, because like I said earlier, music is no more influential than a movie, and we're not discussing what is happening with the movies or the influence that the movies play. And I'm saying that while this is not at the same time,
no, I don't want you to just skirt over, because at the same time, nobody is discounting the impact that violent music is, that violent movies is having on the crime situation. But Scum, when you sit down and you hear an artist say, boy, you know, when him take up him broom and him rake and him walk through the place, no leaf, no left, you know, and him lace up him shoes, and I mean, when you break down these lyrics and hear a man say the phone might dead but the matic fully charged, enough youth out there probably wouldn't walk with no gun, you know, but that alone give him this energy for say, oh, I put a matic in my waist and go stand up on the corner.
I don't accept
whether or not he decides then to shoot somebody,
just because you hear
an opportunity might present itself, a little man, you know, along with the socio-economic environment that they are in, right? A lot of these artists, yes, they are is art imitating life, which is supposed to be okay. Art imitating life. So they're singing about...
Is it supposed to be okay, or is it okay? Because if it's art imitating life, what is wrong with that? It's the same thing as a movie. It's the same thing as a skit.
That's what I'm saying. It is supposed to be okay in the sense.
So why is it not okay? You keep saying supposed to be. Why is it not okay?
Because actually what we're seeing happening is that oftentimes is life imitating art. Some of the things where them sing about, even though is a man reality, a next man use it as a motivation or as a way, as a method then for go do what you must do.
Fiction and non-fiction movies, you have a lot of things that are based on real life, whether or not the actual content is positive or what could be termed as negative is a whole different thing. But you said skirt, I don't know what you're referring to or who you're speaking of when you said skirting or what, I don't know what you're trying to do there. But let me just tell you again, any semantics is what you are doing, the government, and those that have actually tried to legislate against persons using their freedom of speech. Now, this is simply what I'm saying. This is the whole meat of the matter as far as I'm concerned. If you are going to listen music and you are going to go out there and do something wrong, then you should be held accountable for your action, irrespective of whether or not you're listening music. Irrespective if you watch that movie.
I don't think that anybody is disputing that.
Hold on.
I don't think anybody is disputing that.
I would like an opportunity to
need
finish.
to be held responsible for their actions.
I would like the opportunity to finish my point.
Go ahead, sir.
No, I would have said earlier that the root, the love of money is now the government need to put in place the bro god or whatever terminology you want to refer to the Prime Minister as, and those around him, those in Parliament and making certain decisions, need to stop telling people that get an education or trying to pursue a degree to find jobs overseas. Need to provide jobs and opportunity, not only for educated, but also those unattached. Need to also provide ways and means to keep these youths engaged in a positive way and not only be looking to fill their pockets and not only be looking to a scapegoat. It's the very same thing, you know. When you go, hold on, when you go into the inner city communities, a lot of times you hear about the police brutality and the police do this. Now, most of the times when the politician goes in, it's a joy for them to say, hey, yeah man, the police is just like taking something and making it the big headline. It's just a distraction ploy. And it's the same thing that they are doing with this music thing because, hey, this violence, it has more to do with politicians and their acts in the early days of independence leading up to the 80s, the 70s, leading up to what we are having to deal with now. Because what you find a lot of dons is providing comfort, money, opportunities, because it is not being provided by those who are elected members. And those same elected members are actually offering opportunities to persons who are enforcers. So what are these youths going to do? Is the music more pulling than gangs and gang activity?
Is that a question?
It is a question, sir.
So I'm going to answer your question by saying something, right? You quote the good book and you say it's in the good book that the love of money is the root of all evil. What does the good book says about music and players of instrument?
Tell me, I tell you exactly. I tell you exactly the root of all evil. You tell me now.
That they are held to a higher calling, right?
Repeat?
The players of instrument, musicians and players of instrument.
Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you exactly where I took what I would have read. 1 Timothy 6 verse 10.
The next thing.
So I want you to tell me now, because I don't want to take what you are saying as gospel. I want to read it from the good book, as you call it.
I'm going to look up the scripture. I don't have it off the top of my head. But you talk about politicians. And the next thing I want to talk about is that if we're seeking leadership from politicians,
it's not only leadership, but opportunities.
If we're seeking
proper
leadership,
infrastructure,
if we're seeking leadership and opportunities from politicians, then it's a foolish.
It's not only leadership, as I said. It's also to put the proper things in place. Which one of those things is the proper, effective use of resources so that the police can go out and do their work? Because to say that somebody is influenced to go and kill somebody is really nothing if you're not doing something to deter. So the important thing is to have structures and the proper things in place that somebody know that, listen, if they go and do this, they are more likely to be caught and held accountable. So you need to have the proper resources put in place and you need to invest in that.
And all of that is true, you know. All of that you're saying is true. And we're not disputing that. But you can't take away from the fact that just like how you can sit down and listen to a Chronics, you know, or a Bob Marley, or, you know, a soul song and it make you want to go home and make love to your woman, is the same kind of influence music, listening to violent dance.
You see, I know we are pressed for time, but I just can't help it. I mean, if you go out there and you see a girl scantily clad, I mean, as long as they don't have any circulation issue, you might just get an erection. Does that give you the right to go and have sex with her?
We're not saying, but that where that come from though?
Based on what you're saying, you were just talking about.
I'm saying going home and making love to your woman.
Yes, but you're talking about listening music and it evokes a particular feeling. And I'm saying that just because you have a particular feeling does not give you the right to go and do something. It's a very point I just
talking about
mentioned.
Right or wrong here.
So what are we talking about? The influence. And I'm saying that why is music center stage? Because a man come out and do a song about gun.
We have an
why
issue.
Do we know
we
have
an
an
issue right
taking
now?
Trying to take away this man freedom of speech?
You're not taking away his freedom of speech.
What are you saying? He's wrong for making the song.
No, we're not saying.
Oh, I am wrong for listening to it.
Nobody's telling you what you're wrong to do. What we're discussing is the influence that the music have on people. So we need to put that into perspective. Does music influence you? Can it influence you? Yes or no? Now, we see recently Bounty Killer come out and say, boy, he regret having sing some of these bad man songs. Because now, as him get older, I'm kind of realize that probably he has contributed to the situation.
Did he say that he has contributed to the situation? Because I would think that if you're going to go that, then I would think you need to ban Bounty Killer from a hammer. I think he would be more concerned about that. It's crazy that you're going to say Bounty Killer. I mean, look at Bounty Killer. The man have a lifelong career and Beanie Man clashing. And these two can go in front of a versus audience, and
that clash led to violence.
Where?
One time in Jamaica where people were actually gunning for each other.
The two men that are in the clash. The two men that are in the clash has been in clash for years.
But
decades, if not.
That actually come about. That actually being able to be on the same stage came about from experience. From growing up and realizing, say, yo.
But I'm saying that this is to show you that the music, as influential as it be, you don't need to ban the music.
Nobody's saying that you must ban it. I don't.
So what is it that the influence is an issue? Because if you don't have an issue with movies, and if it is allowed for art to imitate life, what is the issue?
It's a discussion. It's a discussion about.
Okay, so we're going to discuss movies next week?
Well, that is up for discussion.
All right, nice, thanks.
You know, as we said, this is just a discussion about the influence that music have on violence. Scum obviously believes that music don't play a part. I think that music influences you to do good, just like, and if it influences you to do good, it can also influence you to do bad. Anyway, we're wrapping up this episode. We want to hear what you have to say, you know. Comment in the comment section and tell us. Does music influence you? Can it influence you? And will it influence you to do anything? Thank you for watching Bridging the Gap. Again, please like, share, subscribe, and comment.